Gothamites, and welcome back to the channel. I am the Crowlector, and today, I gotta say, I'm feeling a little bit vindicated. You see, a couple weeks ago, I made a little retrospective review on the first Hot Toys Scarecrow, along with the Daft Toys Scarecrow. I'll put a little link to that video below. Go ahead and check it out if you could. I would really appreciate it. But in said video, I made a little prediction. But with my luck, by acknowledging the first release and trying not to care about the second one, it would only be a matter of time until Sideshow finally gave us a little release window for this guy here. And you know what? Just as I thought, it happened. Maybe I should play the lottery while my luck is so good. Late last night, I finally got a little email from Sideshow saying that this guy was finally up for pre-order. So if any of you guys felt a very strong wind, I apologize. That's just the butterfly effect from me rushing to the computer to finally take a look at this guy proper. And as you can see, y'all, he is a gorgeous. So without further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and get into it because there is a lot to get into. First and foremost, the price. That was one of the biggest unknowns, at least for me. Obviously, with the Dark Knight Joker, you know, he was, what, around 400 or so, maybe even more, with that Joker tax, of course. Bane was a little bit less than Joker at, what, 375, give or take. Catwoman, I think, was a little closer to Scarecrow here. Maybe 280, 285, somewhere in there. Quite manageable. Very dangerous for me because that means I'm more likely to buy multiple of them, but that was bound to happen anyway. We'll see if it stays that price with these tariff shenanigans that we're getting into here, but here's hoping. I'm not too wild about this release window here. April 2026 to September 2026, a full year or more away. I do know that that's kind of the general window for these guys, but I was really hoping to get my grubby little paws on this guy during the 20th anniversary of Batman Begins, which of course is 2025. And this is, I know, a placeholder date. It could be before then, after then, during then, who knows. I'll keep my fingers crossed for some good news. Getting into the figure itself that they showed off, I'm just going to go ahead and see if you guys notice anything different that we haven't gotten before. And if you said the unmasked Cillian Murphy head, then you are absolutely correct, my friend. This was, I think, the biggest unknown for everybody going into the official unveiling. Were we going to get that unmasked Cillian Murphy head? And as you can see here, we are. This is going to be our first official 6th scale Cillian Murphy head. We did get a smaller one with the Mafex before, which, you know, it wasn't the best likeness, but for what it is, it's quite nice. The figure itself, as you can see, stands just under 12 inches. 11.8 inches of Scarecrow is plenty. Already, he looks very, very nice. Really like the color of the suit. It's much lighter than the ones we've gotten before. I do want to say that this might be sort of an amalgamation of his looks. He had a couple different suits in Begins and a different one in Dark Knight. I'm not entirely sure. But either way, it looks quite nice. Here we have our first look at an unmasked Crane with the glasses. And, of course, the unused mask, the empty mask here, which, as you can see, does hold its rigidity. I'm interested to see if this is a thicker plastic or a thinner one, if there's any give or squishiness to it, or if it just kind of stuck in this position full time. I'm not entirely bummed if it is like this. I'm sure I can get it to look natural enough, but something a little more empty feeling like we got on that Mafex would be quite nice. I'm also wondering if the kind of long ropes are removable or if they're just tucked into the mask here. That'll be interesting to see. We also get another little glimpse at an accessory that we haven't gotten before and weren't sure we would get here, which is his briefcase, and I'll get to that more later. And a third thing that I didn't think we would ever get is his little fear toxin contraption here. We've never gotten this on a figure before. Obviously, you can do a good Begin Scarecrow without this little contraption here. I don't think we ever even get like a really good look at it in the movie, so it's not a huge deal that it's been left out. But of course, it is a very welcome touch. And it does look like it might be removable with a little strap here, so if you want a more basic Scarecrow or Crane, you can. But then you have the tubes snaking all the way up through his arm here. And I do think this is a removable piece. It looks like maybe it's just a little clip on. So if you don't want this sticking out, or maybe you could tuck it in, take it off, whatever. Very nice touch. And a closer look at that unmasked head. I do like that they made the glasses removable. He does wear them most of the time, at least in the Crane scenes. He doesn't have them, of course, with the mask itself. That would look a little goofy. He's already a very bookish nerd. You don't want to be wearing glasses on the outside of a Scarecrow mask. That would take away all menace. But this Cillian Murphy head sculpt is absolutely beautiful. I don't know if I have face blindness or whatever it's called. Sometimes I think that face sculpts look really nice when it seems like the general consensus is they don't, or vice versa. But here, it really looks like a young Cillian Murphy. Like I had mentioned in that earlier video, I do think this is probably what was holding up the official reveal. I'm sure they wanted to get this likeness right, and they really, really did. Obviously, with a Cillian Murphy, the key is his eyes. This guy has some very striking eyes, whether in the mask, out of the mask, and some very luscious lips, I must say. Very plump. I don't know if that's the right word. Feels a little odd to say. They really captured all of his facial features, his unique facial features. And then the first kind of full body look at Scarecrow with the base. Now, this is, I believe, a different base than the one we saw in those leaked photos before. Before, he had sort of something closer to the Bane and the Catwoman figures, with the long cardboard backdrop here, and then a tiered stand with the pipe for the fear toxin underneath it. Here it looks like maybe there's a canister or broken pipe or something behind him. I don't know if they've foregone the kind of tiered risen base for Scarecrow here. I did actually kind of like it. It does make a little bit more sense for Bane and Catwoman, just given the setting that it is recreating. And of course, Joker had a completely different base than the two, so it wouldn't be the end of the world if Scarecrow had the same fate here, but it would hurt that uniformity. And I do like the little bit of fear toxin cloud we get here. I like that it doesn't seem to be one solid piece. Looks like you can kind of work his thumb through here, which gives it kind of that curly, rolly look to it, instead of like a glob of something that he's shooting at you. And then another little look at Crane here. The tailoring of the suit, I gotta say, looks really, really nice. We'll see, I believe, yes, the next one. The buttoned look versus the unbuttoned look. Both, I think, look appropriately thin, appropriately gaunt. I do like that you can button this up or snap it up, however they executed it. This one, of course, looks much more professional than this, which is definitely Scarecrow getting down to business. And again, the kind of rigid mask, which would tell me that it's not a soft plastic, which is fine. I never really thought they were going to give us like an actual burlap mask. We do get the little visitor badge as well, which I would assume is removable, so you can consider that an accessory as well. Then a little sneak peek inside the briefcase with a little pointy finger for the little dispenser button there. Very cool touch. I think they could have made this just one solid plastic piece, but I really, really appreciate that it does open up. And then we have our first look at the just kind of regular masked head. And I gotta say, not only do I really like these long ropes here, but just the mask sculpt in general looks so good. We don't have those little kind of fray tendril thingies sticking out on the side. It's such a niche little detail that we're probably never going to get. It's just so clear, such a night and day difference on the level of sculpting and the levels to the sculpt with the sort of embossed stitches here, if you will. The raised lines, the divots in the burlap, so cool. And really helps avoid that kind of potatoey look I'd mentioned before. He should look like a potato sack, not the potato itself. Then a bit of an action pose, which is really cool. I don't know if this is the old Batman Begins figure or if they're hinting at a new Batman Begins figure, which I would be all for. I do know that they like to kind of hide sneak peeks of future figures in unveilings. I don't have the original Batman Begins figure, but I have heard that its execution, not the best, not the most flexible, articulated figure, which I guess makes sense with the suit. But I digress. If they did make a new Batman Begins figure with the Demon Batman parts to fill out the scene even more, I would be all for it. And then, of course, we have the Maggoty mask. Now, I think we all kind of knew that this is the alternate mask we would be getting. You really can't do the Bat mask easily. I suppose you could, but it would probably be quite difficult. You would risk breaking off the bat. But I like the execution of these maggots. Very strange sentence to say. So, as we've seen before on smaller figures, these maggots can look a little bit like very big pimples. And then the one we got on the Daft Toys version was quite nice, but they're much plumper, much more juicy maggots, if you will, whereas these are very thin, almost straw-like. I mean, I know we get little glimpses of straw sticking out, I think in the Falcone Theotoxin scene, so I guess you could consider these maggots. We'll see how they look on the finished product, whether they skew more maggot or skew more straw. But again, I think it's all down to the sculpting and the spacing and the paint. So as long as everything comes out nice and clean, then we should be good. And then we do get a nice glimpse of the eyes. And I like the depth that you can see here, that they're not just like on the surface. You can tell this is a guy wearing a mask. And another look at the Fear Toxin mask. This gives some really nice character to it, with the kind of downward angled head, the upward angled eyes. These are, of course, rolling eyeballs, as we are used to now. Very reminiscent of that iconic shot from the trailer. And then a little glimpse at one of the accessories, which is the lighter. And I can't tell if this is a light up piece or if it's just a translucent piece that they've kind of shown a light through. It'd be cool if it lit up. I just don't know if the battery pack would be big enough. And, you know, I don't want to have to run a USB or anything through his arm. If it doesn't light up, it's not the end of the world. It's still very nicely sculpted. And again, I really like this mask with all the folds. It really keeps it, and the phrase down here, very nice, keeps it from looking too flat, too one dimension. And another look at the unmasked head, and this does lead me to believe that this is a more rigid piece, which is fine, but this part here has me a little worried or interested. I don't know. I like that there are clear levels to the mask. I don't know if you can see, like here, for instance, it might be, I can't tell if it's like a thinner piece of the mask with like some hair poking through. This definitely looks like hair, which might be a problem just in terms of, like, I don't know, immersion. If you have him holding it with his hair here, but also hair sticking out of the mask itself, might be a little strange, but maybe not. Maybe it's just how it's painted. And these are like very thin kind of fibers. I do not see a belt strap on the back of the mask here, which is a little disappointing. It might be hiding off to the side here. If they left it off of this one, it's not the end of the world. Chances are you probably wouldn't be seeing the back of the mask anyway. The front is where it's at, so I can live with it. And another shot of Crane with the glasses. I really like the shadow here. The glasses are very nice. So many times with glasses on figures, they can seem a little thick, whereas these, maybe just because they are thinner and they are, I think, clear, they do sit very nicely on his face. They don't hide too much of the sculpt. It even looks like you can peg them in under his hair, which would be a very nice touch and wouldn't look too unnatural on the front there. I'm also noticing the tailoring on the suit. It looks very nice. And the tie as well. I can't remember what fabric or pattern this is, but it's not just like the plain tie fabric that we're used to. Same with the suit. It looks like there might be a bit of a texture to it, which would be very cool. And then another glimpse at the maggots, looking at them a bit closer up. And I'm noticing he might. Yeah, I think the mouths on these guys are a little different. This one seems like the stitching is thicker and much darker as well, kind of stained and dirty, grody. I'm noticing the watch too, which is another nice little touch. And the visitor name tag here. They easily could have left this just blank, but it just goes to show you how detailed Sideshow and Hot Toys get. Whereas this mask here has thinner and lighter stitching on the mouth. It even looks like you can see burlap underneath it. This one, I think, also looks, unless they flipped it, jagged, kind of off to his left, whereas this one's kind of jagged off to his right. Very cool touch. It just kind of helps differentiate the two masks even more. Especially on this one, the eyes shining through looks so beautiful. Wunderbar, wunderbar. If you get the light hitting these guys just right, I think, oh boy, I think it's gonna look so good. And he looks like tightening the mask with these guys here. I don't know technically which one he uses to tighten the mask in the movie, if it is the one around his neck or if it is the one in the back or both. I will need to ask Scarecrow his beauty routine. And then here we get a glimpse inside the briefcase. And again, so detailed. All the little stitching here. I wouldn't assume any of this would open, but still, they could have left it just a blank, kind of black backdrop. And then the canister with the tubes that he uses to spray Falcone. Again, the unmasked mask, if you will. The more I look at it, I do wish there was a little bit of give to it. I suppose there still could be. It would be nice to kind of squish it down in the briefcase here for just a little more natural sitting look. Obviously, it's not a pop-up mask. It wouldn't just pop up and hold its rigidity like this. It's not the end of the world if it doesn't, but just in terms of display purposes and immersion, it would be nice if it was a little thinner. And then here we have all the head sculpts side by side, again showing off the differences between the mask and the Cillian Murphy sculpt. I like the expression they went for here. He very much has kind of a sassy, like, I am totally over it kind of expression through a lot of the movie, but this one is much more intent, much more focused, almost, like an animal about to pounce. Very, very cool. And again, just goes to show you that if you get it into the right pose, the right angle, it's going to look very intense, even though, without the mask, he is just a guy, but there is something to this expression that is very menacing. And then the overview, and here we can see that there is a backdrop for the figure, kind of an Arkham Asylum backdrop, which is nice. Still not sure if they got rid of that open pipe there. It would be a bit of a bummer unless they worked it into this back piece here. I did really like that part of it. It helps, again, with the uniformity of the series themselves. They're going to look really nice side by side. We have the lighter, the flashlight as well, and this also looks like it lights up. It might just be, I don't know, maybe a glow paint or just some photo manipulation. You can see a bit of shine on his hand there, which, speaking of the hands, I like that they gave us some different options this time around. Instead of just the fist and like the pointy finger, we do get sort of their variation on it, which is kind of an open gesture hand. A bit of a pointy one. Yeah, here, a pointy one, but it also doubles as something that you can use to hold accessories. So I guess if you wanted to, you could recreate that scene at the end. Or actually, no, now that I think about it, one of the biggest omissions is the straitjacket, which has come with every large-scale figure before. It's not the end of the world. I mean, I suppose we could always get like a Scarecrow 3.0 or 2.5. If they ever wanted to release one, with the horse, that would be freaking awesome. Or like a Dark Knight singed mask, maybe even the Dark Knight Rises courtroom look. I guess they could include the straitjacket there as well, but this is how he looks through 99% of the movie. So even though the straitjacket is a very cool piece, I'm not too terribly torn up that it's not included here. Everything else I think is such an improvement over those past figures we've gotten. I know, me being me, I'm gonna have to get at least two of these guys. One to display as Crane, one as Scarecrow. I'm debating getting a third one for the Maggoty mask. I'm gonna have to wait and see how this all looks in person. Of course, I have that Daft Toys one if I do want a version of the Maggoty mask. But yeah, there we have it, guys. Looking at the shoes here, one of my main curiosities is, are these going to be pleather or a solid plastic? Personally, I'm hoping for the latter. I really don't care much for pleather shoes with real laces. Again, I'm terrible at tying these small laces, so if these were just one solid piece, that would be a-okay with me. But all in all, he looks so good. Oh, and sorry to keep saying it, but another thing I noticed he does not come with are the bats. In that con photo, he had a string of bats coming out from behind him, which I do think technically is an accessory from another Batman figure, but would have been a really cool inclusion here, especially with the Maggoty mask to really recreate that apartment showdown. But yes, finally, I'm done, I promise. Um, Let me know what you guys think of the Hot Toys Scarecrow 2.0. Are you going to be getting him? And if so, how many? Masked, unmasked, half masked? Tell me how you're going to be displaying him. I cannot wait for this guy. I'm sure you'll be hearing me talk about him a lot over the next couple months or year, so brace yourself for that. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. If you could, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe on the video below, and stay tuned for more creepy Crowlection content. But in the meantime, stay spooky.